What's up, everybody, and welcome to Outer. These are the people who brought Fallout into our lives. Did you not expect a couple of issues here and there? Yeah, either way, I love Obsidian. That includes Fallout New Vegas. So if you made it this far, my name is Tanner, and this is For Your Money. I love a good conspiracy theory, which could explain why I love this game's story. Big corporations trying to take care of the bigwigs and only the bigwigs? That's a classic, just like The Exorcist. Outer Worlds is set in the far future of a world that's very different from ours. You're a colonist aboard the Hope, a ship of colonists that have been purposely forgotten about. You are the only colonist that Dr. Phineas could awaken, meaning he needs your help in what to us is a conspiracy, but to him is a reality. As you tackle your way through the main quest line, you start thinking, maybe this mad scientist guy ain't so mad after all. Let me start with saying that this game, as far as I am aware of, has 3 different endings, and I won't say how to get them or spoil anything, but one of the choices will make your game shorter. Now, as I said, I'm a sucker for conspiracy theories, so I had a hankering for the story the moment I booted this game up, and for me, it did not disappoint. I was satisfied with my main quest line's conclusion. But don't take that as everything in this game is perfect, because this game overall wasn't tedious in the story, because there's a lot of corporations to learn about, whether they be galactical or local. My issue is one I know a lot of people will dread. Someone will send you on a quest for an item, and then when you get to that place to get the item, you learn that somebody else has it, and in order to get it, you need to do a quest for them. Sometimes it gets ridiculous on how many loops you have to jump through to complete a quest, but hey, you could just kill the person who has the first item you need and call it a day. Now, some people thought this story was rather dull, but it's all in how you play it. Every choice counts. I enjoyed talking to the NPCs and being a complete ass, but to my companions, I was probably an A+ boss. Things like this made the game fun, playing and being the character that I wanted to be. One thing that I took away from the story is that Obsidian can make 2 similar games but with very different stories, where Bethesda made Fallout 3 and decided to flip-flop the story for Fallout 4. Now, one key thing that I'll mention is when you're at the final mission, be sure to save. Absolutely be sure to save. Now, speaking of similar games, let's talk about the gameplay. Outer Worlds plays a lot like Fallout games, but way more fluent in my opinion. Leveling up in this game isn't as grindy as Fallout's. You have categories of skills that you upgrade, and in these categories there are 2 to 3 skills. Once the skills inside the category get to level 50, that's when you start to upgrade them individually. It does help that every level up rewards you with 10 skill points, so you should be able to fully upgrade the abilities you want rather easily. Next up is perks. Perks go in tiers of 1 to 3. Now, this isn't complicated at all. You pick a perk to upgrade and that's it. You just read what the perk does, purchase the perk, and then you move on to the next one you want. Now, perks only ever cost 1 skill point, and that's all they will ever cost. You cannot upgrade them, which I did like because an overbearing perk menu does tend to draw me away from a game. Now, perks consist of being able to carry more weight, having more health, and then companions have more health upon revival, etc. and stuff like that. Now, with the companions, they also have a perk tree for you to upgrade, but they don't have skills. And theirs are a smaller selection, but they do have a big impact, so be sure to upgrade them. Now, let's move aside from perks and talk about the combat. The combat is that of a Fallout game, but way more fluent, as I have already said. I was big in melee weapons, and this came at no disappointment because from swinging to hitting an enemy with a sword, it felt freaking satisfying. More so than most other games I've played. Firearm-wise, I was a revolver and plasma cannon kind of guy. Weapons in this game can do elemental damage. From bats to snipers, they can all have elemental effects. One of the reasons to like and why I like the plasma rifles was so I could watch the enemies disintegrate right in front of me. In some of these characters, all you want is to see their ashes blow in the wind. Now, if that doesn't suffice your needs, go whack someone's head off with a sword or hammer the Jason Voorhees style. One neat thing with this game is the tactical time dilation. When coming out of your slumber, you develop a side effect that allows you to slow down time to help in combat. Doing this in combat will allow you to see what will happen to an enemy if you shoot or hit in the spot you're aimed at. A shot can cripple an enemy, it can blind an enemy, and much more depending on where you aim. Yeah, it is similar to Fallout's VAT system, but it's better than VAT's system, at least to me. One thing this game gets right in the gameplay is something Fallout stumbled in for me. When you're exploring the world, I never found an enemy that I couldn't take and or had to run away until 4 hours later. So don't worry, ain't no death claws gonna grab you on hour 1 of the game. One unique thing about this game is the flaws. Flaws are exactly what they sound like. They're a flaw in your character. So if you're shot by enough plasma bullets from an enemy, you're going to get a scream prompt, and it's going to offer you to take more damage from a plasma bullet, but in exchange will give you a perk point. So it has its up and its downs. I accepted 3 of them because there was a little achievement / trophy you could get. But other than that, I didn't exactly see a point to do it. But hey, if you're wanting to get them perks all the way up, why not do it? What I did find this game to be rather bothersome is a couple of bugs. There were times where the enemies would be stuck under the map, so I couldn't progress in certain side quests, and at times my weapons wouldn't show up on screen. No, my weapons were not holstered, they just weren't showing up, and it wouldn't be that big of an issue if bullets would come out of my hands, but no bullets were coming out of my hands, so I was dying. Now, gameplay-wise, these are the only 2 combat issues and bugs I had. The rest lie in the game's design itself. So let's talk a little bit about that, and while we do, I'm going to touch on this game's looting and armor. I was surprised when I entered my first planet in this game. I did not expect it to look as good as it did. Yeah, it had some texture pop-ins throughout the world, but I'm not a stickler about that. From the different environments of every planet to how people act on those planets, it was all one unique journey. Some of the NPCs would act as a corporation salesman saying, "It's Spacer's choice." And that's the kind of stuff that gives me a good sense of world building. Enjoying the lush mushroom trees to the acid pools with neon palette to a moon with a gloomy feel. It's a treat for the bifocals, but guess what? This is where some of them issues come in that I mentioned. As you saw from the buffering intro, this should come at no surprise that this game has quite a bit of loading to do. As you walk through the planets, at random points your game will freeze and load. It happened to me quite a few times, and nowhere in particular, just whenever the game felt like it needed to put in some R&R time and load. I thought this was something we waved bye to on our way out of the last generation of gaming, but I was wrong. On the bright side, this game does do something perfect, and it makes sense to me. There aren't many locations to discover in this game as previous Obsidian titles, mainly due to the fact that you're a new colony and you're not doing so great. People want to be fed, so they live in the city walls and work for the corporation. With that being said, loot in this game wasn't anything impressive, but it was fine. I didn't find a huge variety of weapons, so for the most part I stuck with the same weapons. I just upgraded them at an upgrade station with some weapon mods to keep them in tip-top shape. Design as far as weapons go, they were rather boring looking with the exception of a couple melee weapons, but that does not take anything away from this game. Just something worth noting that this isn't Borderlands where the guns have small intricate designs. Armor though I thought looked pretty banging. I didn't find a wide selection for these either, but what I did find I liked. I liked them enough to where I said screw it and went with cosmetics over armor, even though I rarely saw my character due to the lack of third person. To bring the graphics back in, the character design in this was well done. It wasn't anything just absolutely amazing, but for this game and the company, it was perfect. I never thought I was talking to the same NPCs twice, and upon talking to the NPCs, their facial expressions were spot on, as well as the detail that they put in the faces. So pat on the back for you, Obsidian, because in my opinion, that's a milestone. What truly brings this all together? Their dandy sounds, of course. I was a sucker for their soundtrack. No radio needed for this game, just an orchestra. And on top of that, the sound effects were rather thrilling. So here's a couple of snippets for you to judge for yourself.
Over the years. It'll take you into the Devil's Peak Caverns if you follow it under the bridge. That's one option. Others the slope up. If you're up for some fun, let's chat.
I'm afraid I can't help you at the moment. Have a... Down they go!
So I have two more flaws with design, one being that whenever you talk to an NPC, sometimes the NPC doesn't talk for a couple seconds to a minute. Kind of like when the game world loads, except for the NPC is not frozen. You can still see him move, it's just not talking for another 30 seconds or a minute. My next one is the character creation in this, it was fine. You can pick, hairstyle and eye color and all that other jazz. I mean, it wasn't anything impressive. It's just like any other character design. Problem is you barely see your character. I mean, in fact, since there's no third person, it's almost pointless to create a character. But I do enjoy creating a character, so I'm not going to give it too much shit. But I would still like to see my character a lot more often than I did. Just how fun was this game? Pretty damn fun. It didn't matter if I was hacking up the owner of a brat factory because of his ego, or just sitting back having a chit chat with some of the locals. I enjoyed every minute. Tons of lore for players to learn, tons of creatures to kill, or humans to dismember. Hell, even role-playing a walking simulator for this game is fun. This game has some bugs, some tedious quests, and a couple other issues, but I can't wait to see where Obsidian goes next. Maybe in Outer Worlds too, Inner Worlds. Heck, I have no idea. All I know is I paid $60 and Outer Worlds is worth $45. I have a feeling they'll fix some of the bugs in this game, except for the world loading. I think that's here to stay. Either way, this was a phenomenal gaming experience, and if this video helped, then why not go ahead and subscribe? If this was as useless as the building in Fallout 4, then hit that thumbs down button, because that's pretty damn useless.